So the next thing that I want to talk about is her name. If you refer to her as Charlotte, I understand uh, making that assumption because the author's name was Charlotte and this was inspired by her real experience. However, there is a difference between the author and the narrator. The narrator is a work of is fictional. She is a much exaggerated version of Charlotte, and so Charlotte is not the narrator's name. So sorry if that causes shock and consternation, but I'm sorry, her name's not Charlotte. What her name actually is kind of up for debate. So it could just be that she has no name, and you can kind of think of maybe the implications of that she is just totally nameless. And so that's kind of kind of creepy to think about, that we have this nameless woman that we just watched go crazy. And so what could be, because that's an intentional choice by not giving her a name. So why would she not name her narrator? I have a thought. Maybe it's just generic, because the name John is generic, and so it's just kind of fill in the blank with woman that because this could happen. It's almost like she's saying this could happen to anybody. So that's one thought on maybe why she has no name. Maybe she does have a name though, and this is the second to last paragraph of the story, where she says, "I've got out at last, said I, in spite of you and Jane, and I've pulled off most of the paper, so you can't put me back." So who is this Jane who can't put her back in the wallpaper? One theory is that, well, maybe it's just a typo from Jenny, but I don't buy that. Like, where she meant to write Jenny, you and Jenny can't put me back. But no. I think my thought is that Jane is the name of the narrator, and she's saying that you, John, can't put me back, and I'm not going to have myself put back in the wallpaper, or I'm not going to have myself put back into these social restraints, because that's kind of essentially what the wallpaper boils down to, is this cult of domesticity, that she's not gonna bow down to that again. So there's that. And oh yeah, I did want to mention some of her nicknames. And of course she gets called, like, so anytime she's actually referred to by John, by her husband, or it's something almost like what you would say, like, it's almost like parent-child. He calls her a blessed little goose, a little girl, and we kind of see throughout the whole story that she's being, I'm going to try to say this word right, infantilized, made to be like turned into a little baby. And some of the ways that we see that is the fact that she's in a nursery. She's babied the whole throughout the whole story. He never takes anything that she says seriously, and so yeah. And one of the big questions we all have with this is, like, why did people think it was okay to treat grown people like this? And it's just that the sad fact is that women weren't, even grown women, mothers, weren't even, in certain circles, they weren't seen as full-fledged adults, or they weren't on the same level of adult as a man. So there's that. Her name is probably Jane, but of course, like, her lack of name and her kind of patronizing nicknames just kind of go to show that she's not. It's her not being taken seriously is part of what caused her decline. So there's that one. Okay, one more to go.